I remember one morning I was struggling with something or other, and Norman pressed the button and said, "Don't even try for it. Don't even try for it. The audience by this time knows your voice. Don't try to make him different from the other 85 heavies we've already done." So that was,
I used to play either, Mexican señoritas, or a couple of times Harry Bartell and I did Indian. Oh, yeah, remember? Or you don't remember?
No, I'm laughing at Harry Bartell.
Oh, all right.
We probably went on the air with less formal rehearsal than most shows. It was all very casual. You'd come in at whatever the hour was, 9:30 or 10 in the morning, but you didn't settle down to work until about 11:15 or 11:30. Almost without exception, everybody had become so confident with that entire milieu, with the genre, that, there was very little that we paused for.
Welcome to Breaking Walls, episode 135. My name is James Scully. Tonight on Breaking Walls, it's February of 1958, and CBS has just launched a new Western, Luke Slaughter of Tombstone. It's a forgotten 16-episode gem. 5 years earlier, it might have been a hit. If this is your first time listening to Breaking Walls, welcome to the show. You can find this series on every podcasting platform and at thewallbreakers.com. Tonight's opening song is Jerry Goldsmith's Luke Slaughter Closing, originally recorded in January of 1958. Join the Breaking Walls Facebook group to keep in touch with news, snippets, photos, and other additions to the podcast at facebook.com/groups/thewallbreakers. And Burning Gotham's first 8 chapters are now out. Subscribe anywhere you'd get a podcast and at burninggotham.com. You can also support these shows for as little as $1 per month at patreon.com/thewallbreakers.
Hey, well, looky here. Hey, boys, come over here and have a look-see. Hey, what you carrying there, son? Buffalo guns? Hey, boy, don't you know packing them great big old heavy things would like to make you a bow-legged before your time?
Crowley, you just shot up my paw an hour back. I aim to kill you for it.
When Gunsmoke went on the air in April of '52, it was really the only one of its kind. In the years that followed, I think there were a good many imitators, some very successful and some just poor imitations.
You kidding that there mealy mouth Taylor down the street? Boy, I might have known. Mealy mouth little son.
Mr. Crowley, I'm going to put my gun back now. Next time I unshuck it, you better draw your own self, because I ain't going to be doing no fancy trick shooting the glass out of your hand. I'm going to kill you.
Boy, you sure are fast, that's for sure.
In February of 1958, CBS's Gunsmoke, considered by many to be the greatest Western of all time, was in its 6th radio season. The TV version was the medium's most watched show, with a rating of 39.6. Although the 1950s proved to be a great time for radio Westerns, in 1958, Gunsmoke was the only one of note on the air. Gunsmoke's cast and crew had little overlap with its TV counterpart. CBS was contractually obligated to provide their radio affiliates with a promised slate of shows, and because advertisers were now investing most of their dollars into TV, CBS officials left radio to the radio people. Producers and directors like Elliot Lewis, Jack Johnstone, Norman MacDonnell, and William N. Robson enjoyed less second-guessing and more creative freedom. Writer E. Jack Newman remembered that time.
Television was obviously going to move in big and supplant radio drama as we knew it. But in that year and that time, radio really grew up and put on long pants. It became very adult and very sophisticated and very satisfying.
However, these men and women also faced shrinking budgets.
The great period of radio was from the time when I very fortuitously, and didn't know this at the time, obviously happened to fall into New York, from that to the war. From 1937, 38 really, through the war. It was only 7 years. The golden age of radio.
This is William N. Robson.
I am not one who suffers fools gladly, nor accepts much brown-nosing. I want talent. I want ability. And I will go to lengths to find it, and I will also go to lengths to put up with it, as sometimes is necessary.
By 1958, he had more than 20 years of experience writing, producing, and directing radio shows.
Well, Escape was an anthology show, and the truly brilliant thinking of show business at the time. Since Suspense was such a success, why not another show of the same kind? So Escape was pretty darn close to Suspense, and very often we used the same material. The assistant director, who was Norman MacDonnell for most of the Escape series, when I was doing it, and who subsequently succeeded me as director on it for a while, the assistant director's function was to time the rehearsals, to time the show, and while on the air, advise the director how he was running, fast or slow, etc., and generally to take care of the mechanical end of the production. I used the finest actors in Hollywood.
He was also no stranger to westerns, having been in charge of Hawk Larabee a decade before.
Larabee was an assignment for me. I did not dream it up. Probably it was Ernie Martin's idea. Ernie Martin was the program director at that time. He went on to become a very successful theatrical producer with such things as Where's Charlie and Mame. And I don't know what his thinking was, but it was decided in the upper reaches of management to try a Western and see what would happen, see if it had any commercial bites. So they put it on Saturday afternoon. I doubt if it went 13 weeks. The original title was Hawk Durango. And then they discovered that Columbia Pictures down the street had released a movie called The Durango Kid, so they figured they better change that. It was a series of stories centered around the main character, whose name was Hawk Larabee, a cowhand on a ranch in Texas, played by Barton Yarborough, who had a wonderful and authentic Texas accent.
Robson had also been in control of Suspense since 1956.
Suspense was a very, very important show. I must say that I was not the director of Suspense in its heyday. Bill Spear was. And Bill Spear did not create Suspense, but made it the great show that it was. I came along at a time when radio was paring down all of the adjuncts to great production in terms of money for stars, money for cast, money for orchestra, et cetera, et cetera.
In 1957, CBS Radio saw a rise in revenue for the first time since 1950. At the company convention that November, upper management predicted that radio was becoming fashionable again. In early 1958, the network ordered 2 new Western programs to air on Sunday afternoons, replacing an hour of concert broadcasts. The goal was to interest national advertisers. In the meantime, unsold commercial spots would be filled with PSAs. The first show was created by Anthony Ellis and called Frontier Gentlemen. It came to the air on February 2nd, 1958.
Once again, I met a lady named Belle and learned about a gentleman named Archie McLaughlin. This taking place in Deadwood, Dakota Territory.
Frontier Gentlemen.
Breaking Walls covered Frontier Gentlemen in episode 101. The second show's assignment fell to Robson. It would be called Luke Slaughter of Tombstone.